I'd like to introduce Quentin Oliver from Stratagem, who's going to chair the discussion this morning. Quentin.
We're in a great place and we're in great company, and hopefully we can share some learning and some issues this morning. As Mary said, I'm a sleazy lobbyist, and it's not hard to get worse in the public opinion polls of people that the public have no trust in. So don't trust anything I'm going to say, because we vie in the gutter with politicians and journalists for that title of complete nobodies who leech off the back of everybody else and contribute nothing at all to good society. But once upon a time I was a charity angel, and I worked for a charity, and I had that halo around my head as the golden-hearted charity person who was top of the public trust list. And that's when my story starts, because it was in 1989 when I was trying to do traditional charity fundraising, which was get somebody rich, twist their arm behind their back, get them to sign a cheque and move on to the next person. And we all know how futile that often is, but I did it. I stopped a young Kenneth Branagh. I stopped him at the stage door of the Birmingham Symphony, where he was doing some stuff with Simon Rattle, and I did the, you're from Northern Ireland, I run a Northern Ireland charity, you should be supporting us, get your chequebook out. And thankfully, of course, he didn't say go away. He said, well, let's talk about this, what could we do, what could we do differently, what are my skills, how about some theatre, how about if I brought you Hamlet, Much Ado About Nothing, and put them on at the Opera House, and we raised some money and we did some stuff in local community groups, and we did some master classes in schools, and we did this and we did that, and we had an amazing transformation of the cheque that didn't come, turned into a programme, a project, a set of relationships that has endured to this day. And those of you who got to see him in the Lyric over the last couple of weeks in Painkiller will realise that his career's done well, and he still remembers and continues to plough that furrow back into Northern Ireland. Roll on to 1993, and I'd learned a wee bit more, that it wasn't just about trying to twist the cheque out of somebody's back pocket. And our adventure there was, we thought, well, fundraising in Northern Ireland, we've done enough here, let's go somewhere else. So we thought, let's go to Hong Kong and do some fundraising there for Northern Ireland, because it must be a big issue there, and they must know about us, and we'll wow them with our stuff. So we twisted the arm of young Rita Duffy to curate an art exhibition in New York, in Hong Kong for charity. Twisted Barry Douglas's arm to come and play some piano, and the late Harry Taub and a few other people to put on a show in Hong Kong. And that's where I realised that these things are a little bit complicated. You can't just twist the arm of these people to come and perform, because they have requirements, they have standards, they have professionalism, they have needs. And when you're dragging a grand piano outside a 26-storey building on a little crane to try and get it into the penthouse suite, and then when the maestro comes and said, where is the Steinway that the Arts Council always provide me when I perform in Belfast? You realise you have to use some creative skills to engage with the arts world in terms that can connect with your world, whatever it is. And that's where it taught me that there were compatible skills that you needed to connect with, and that if we were going to be creative in our business charity activity, we needed to learn from some of the creativity that the arts world was providing. Roll on to 98, that great moment in our history, the referendum on the Good Friday Agreement, and would we move from a certain phase of our conflict into a different one. And by then there was an equality, because it was about how do you do your messaging to persuade people that this was such a change, and that the compromises and deals within that agreement were worth voting for in a creative way. And that's where the relationships with all those people So Rita Duffy was floating away Magney's poetry down the lagoon, trying to get it over weirs and so on, and Barry Douglas was on the walls of Derry, and Kenneth Branagh and others were playing their part. Barry McGuigan, I'm not sure if boxing is an art, I'm not even sure if it's a sport, but Barry McGuigan was with us trying to persuade people to. And that taught to me the connections, the relationships, and taking people out of comfort zones, whether as voters, or as artists, or as campaigners. Roll on a year, and I set up my own company, Stratagem, at that stage, and the best advice I had, partly from these people and partly from others, was invest in design, invest in creativity, believe those books, those boring books that tell you these things are important, learn the lessons, and put it into your business. And finally, because of the arts and business connection, the backup and the support that they give, and the prompting and the prodding and the will you do this and how about that, means that half our staff are on boards or volunteering with various projects, which creates incredible opportunities for them, and they come back and say, I didn't realise, A, that the skills I had that I'm now using that I didn't appreciate, and B, what I'm learning from the arts organisation and bringing back into our consultancy business. So I think that's a tribute to arts and business. It's a tribute to the people we have here and the connections we can make, and it's why we are here, in order to strengthen that at a time of recession. Because this isn't the time to curl up and do nothing. This is the time to do more. It's the time when there are opportunities and spaces to fill between the pillars of society, the pillars in this room, the spaces we're filling between the pillars in this room. Okay, we're now going to move on through some other contributions to hear their stories, and then we'll open up for discussion to see if we can triangulate and learn from them. I'd like to introduce Peter McBerry from U105 to tell you his story. Peter.
The reason that U105 became involved, and it's probably about a year now since we became involved in arts and business to the level that we have, is essentially our target demographic is the 35 plus, and we would stretch to a broadcast range within about 40 miles of Belfast. To my mind, our 35 plus audience essentially are a very arts interested, arts loving audience, so there's a clear business and strategic benefit for us in that. There's also a clear commercial benefit in that for us, in terms of I wanted to get involved in arts and business to demonstrate to more arts organisations the effectiveness of radio, both as an editorial medium to raise awareness of their project and their aims, and also as an advertising medium to say to them, actually, radio is more affordable than you can think, this is what radio can deliver for you, have a think about it. And one of the ways in which we look to do that was to say, well, actually, can I demonstrate to arts organisations the benefit of it? And one of the things that we talked arts and business about, and then tied up with themselves and audiences NI and Test Drive the Arts, was to say, well, actually, let's give a portion of our time across as a benefit in kind at the cost of U105 to show arts organisations how radio can work for them. And predominantly, we would extend that out to arts organisations who wouldn't understandably have the budget to advertise on any platform. And we did that with arts and business, we did it with Audiences NI, and through Audiences NI's Test Drive the Arts project, we pushed that out, and we got a high level of response, people who wanted to do an awful lot of things, and we're appreciative of the airtime. The project has been rolled out over the last couple of months. The first set are now on air, and it will run between roughly October and I think March or April of next year, when they all go on air. Just to give you an example of who the people were who were given the airtime, and again, just got this list, so don't leave anyone out. The Ulster Orchestra are the people who are on at the moment, and they're pushing a campaign that they're doing, an initiative where if you played music maybe 20 years ago and you reached grade 3 or grade 4 and you've fallen away from music, how would you like to get on the stage and play with the Ulster Orchestra? Well, you can put your name down, go and do an element of rehearsal, and then at a point in March or April, be on the stage, and I think either Belfast or Derry, and perform with the Ulster Orchestra. Theatre at the Mill are another who have qualified for the project. Theatre at the Mill are, like the Lyric, like the Grand Opera House, organisations who do have a budget to spend and who do spend with U105, but we wanted to extend that relationship, so it's not just people who didn't have money, it's people who probably wanted to push other elements of their organisation and what they do, but not an area that they would normally be able to justify a spend on. So Theatre at the Mill, for example, would like to encourage people to help their economy and turn up beforehand and have a light bite So they're pushing the campaign to say to people, well actually, you can eat with us in Eaton Abbey before you go to see the show. So again, that's working for them. That ad is made and will occur in the next, I think in the next fortnight, and then at the start of next year. Wireless Mystery Theatre, when we were chatting about the table, is probably one of the most interesting in radio terms. These guys would do recreations of American plays, short stories, detective type stuff as well. They're doing a Christmas show in Belfast and a Christmas show in Derry, and again, some other organisations have to think about what's going to be in the radio ad and how do I translate what I do onto radio. Wireless Mystery Theatre, just really have to think which 30 seconds of our 90-minute show do we actually use on the radio to best promote what we do. Crescent Arts Centre, another who have signed up again. Crescent Arts Centre do 100 plus classes across the year. Again, being the organisation that they are, they don't have the budget to spend on to promote each of those individually. So again, those guys will engage in an element of advertising. We haven't recorded that advert yet, but we know in our head what it's going to sound like. It'll just be a multi-layered ad essentially that says each of the various classes that they do. So every time you hear the ad, you'll take something different from it and think, actually, I didn't know Crescent Arts Centre did that, and ideally it'll increase their footfall and their awareness. Musical theatre for youth, again, who engage in training for young people who want to be on the stage. The John Hewitt Society, we provide opportunities to enjoy and explore literature, both in schools and to the wider public. The MAC, again, want to do some awareness before they open. Again, as a business, we would be hoping to have a commercial relationship with the MAC, but equally there are elements of what the MAC do that won't be something that they can justify spending an element of their marketing budget on, so we're engaging with those guys. Place, or another organisation, an architectural centre here in Belfast. We promote design quality and engage with the public on architecture and built environment issues. One of the things that Place want to do is promote. They have a number of tours on Saturdays across various parts of the year that will walk you around Belfast and fill you in on architectural history and art deco and the stories behind the buildings. So many people don't know that those events happen. Again, they wouldn't have the budget to spend on it, so we will run a campaign across the period of time, I think in May, for 4 weeks for them again to highlight to people, these are the tours, did you know about them? And you can sign up and go along to those. And the final was the Maiden Voyage Dance Project. Again, dedicated touring dance company, producing original dance and music commissions. We haven't yet figured out exactly how we're going to do a dance ad on the radio, but there is an element of original music that's been commissioned by the project from Brian Irvine, so I think the ad, when it runs in the early part of next year, will feature that. The other project that we've become involved in is with Ransom Theatre Company. We partnered with them as a sponsor, co-sponsor, for their latest show, Both Sides, which premiered earlier this week in the Crescent Arts Centre. 2 plays looking at essentially what a terrorist does after they're a terrorist. How does a terrorist adjust to a peaceful Northern Ireland? 2 plays, 1 comic, 1 dramatic, written by David Ireland, the comic, and Robert Welsh, the dramatic. I had the pleasure of seeing it on Wednesday night at the press night in the Crescent, and I think still runs the next Friday if anybody wants to get a ticket. And I'm sure there are representatives here who will do a discount for some business members if they want to go. Again, the positive for us in that was we tied up with the guys. There's an outreach project associated with that. They're going to use that cross-generational element of it in the area of transformation and run 8 or 10, I think, outreach projects across various areas of Northern Ireland. We have featured in the run-up to the event as part of the partnership. We spoke to the actors, we spoke to the director, we spoke to the 2 playwrights on Wednesday before opening night, and as part of outreach, we will bring in some of the participants in the outreach project and put them on one of our shows, most likely Frank Mitchell on a weekday morning, and allow them to talk to Frank about what they took from the outreach project and to see, for example, to suit us, how something like music, which features heavily in various elements of the play, how that promotes memories and emotions for them, which again is part of the rationale for us, because the music that we play is the best music of the last 40 to 50 years, and one of the rationales for us when we're choosing what songs we play is the majority of the stuff that we play should provoke an emotion in your mind. I would hope that when you hear Brian Adams' Summer of '69, or you hear Springsteen, or you hear Blondie, you hear Beatles, 1U105, it's not just the song, in your mind you will come up with an image and you will think, well actually, that's a song that reminds me of the day my eldest was born, or the day I met the missus, or the day the missus left me. As long as you have that. For us, I'm not sure what song I'll remind me of the day the missus left me, I've yet to hear it. Yes, but where there's a benefit for us as well is that we wanted to say to people, actually, we are a business, and we are a strong commercial business, but there's a strong link between what we do commercially and what you guys can do in the arts, the arts organisations, also to the business organisations. We're not someone who would engage in the marketing budget that I have for the organisation has been cut, and cut very strongly over the last 2 to 3 years. We had a sizable marketing budget when U105 launched about 6 years ago. Again, we have the benefit of a TV station, the promoter sales as part of our parent company. But outside of that, the money we have to spend on other mediums doesn't exist to the level that I would like, and doesn't exist to the level that existed before I got my hands on that budget. So the thing for us to do is look at things like benefit in kind, look at things like contra. My belief is that we as an organisation bring to the table is something that, unique would be the wrong word, but there aren't very many people who can bring. We have 234,000 people who are listening to our radio station every week, and they're listening for a combined total of more than 2 million hours. So that gives an arts organisation, or any advertiser, but in this instance an arts organisation, the ability to get their message out to a lot of people. If you ramp that up, the ads that we're running as part of the Audiences NI project, each of those projects will receive an average of 40 30-second ads that will run, most of them across one calendar month. An ad campaign that would run for 1 week would have the ability to be heard by 230,000 people. If you ramp that up to 3 months, that has the ability to be heard by 440 people, an average of 13 times each. So again, for people like Maiden Dance, for people like Place, they're never going to be able to afford that level of advertising. That would cost them into the double thousands, if you like, to do the level of advertising that you would do across the 8 months that we're doing. And there's a benefit for us as well, and it gets us deeper integrated into that arts community. And as Quentin says, it gives us, if you like, the ability to put it as symbolism, the ability to link and tie up with people, the ability to network much better, and also the ability to say, well, actually, as a standalone commercial organisation, and as part of one of the few PLCs in Northern Ireland, what we want to do is deliver a profit for our shareholders, but we can do that in a number of ways, in a number of different ways, and it doesn't automatically mean that the push that you want to put on business is something that you can do in a positive and all-embracing way, and embrace arts just as much as you embrace commerce. I can see Quentin standing up. So, I assume I've hit 5.5 minutes. Thank you very much.
Stephen Brown's going to talk to us next from Stephen Moore, sorry, from A.B. Brown. Stephen Moore from A.B. Brown, got it right. He's going to talk to us, and he'll do it much better than me, so I'm going to get off Quentin. Come, Stephen.
Thanks, Quentin. Yes, I'm Stephen Moore from A.B. Brown, creative director there, and director of the company as well. I'm going to see why I've been asked along. There seems to be a theme emerging, and I don't know where we would sit in the trust stakes as advertisers. Out there, I'm not even sure we stand trust stakes, interesting enough, with arts organisations. Advertisers sometimes get seen as being at the hardest edge of that. And then when I thought about saying how long we've been involved in arts and business, yes, it's only been a few months, and the project I talk about here is just in its infancy. But of course, in terms of our relationship with arts and business, it's seamless. You have to imagine that whenever we do our day job, we are employing writers, directors, musicians, we're employing a whole array of illustrators, photographers. It's completely connected to all arts businesses as far as we're concerned, and that's what we have to do. Just before I tell the project we've started with Belfast Print Workshop, it's sort of a story came to mind that whenever I did a little bit of work in Europe, I got the chance to work alongside a guy who is English but has an unfortunate day job where he lives on the edge of Lake Como and he translates for the Italian design industry. Horrible place he lives in, and a horrible job. But his name's Pete Kircher, and I had a chance to meet Pete in a place like this and have dinner with him. And I said to him, Pete, you have to tell me something. What is the thing about Italian design? What's their thing? What's their little principle that lies beneath why so many Italian things and such an investment in creativity and design? He said it roughly translates as to make do. And I had to stop him and I said, hold on a second, how does make do explain a Ferrari? How does that work? And he says, well, you have to take it like this. He says, their philosophy is if you have to live with pasta, well, we make it the best pasta it can possibly be. If we have to live past it, we will twist it, we will extrude it, we will turn it, we will mix different sauces with it, we will do it. It will be the best it possibly can be. And it always struck me that actually in Northern Ireland we have a very similar little saying, which translates roughly as "that'll do bloody rightly." And I think that's the thing for me that is such a problem with everything that we do. I happen to believe that "that'll do rightly" cannot be the way any of us in business perform anymore. We cannot, nobody's prepared to accept that anymore. And therefore we have to find ways that changes that. And I think for me that's where what imagination can do, what creativity does, what problem solving does. Businesses just can't continue to expect people to buy the same thing or provide the same service and expect to stay in business any longer. And so I think this is not about getting involved with arts for a purely, to make things more pretty or anything. It's not to do with that. This is good business. And if you translate that across then to the project, whenever I got asked to get involved, again, "that'll do rightly" wouldn't be the way I'd like to approach it. So in the project, we have tried to layer it in a way which we hope means that there's wins all around. So the project is simply that Belfast Print Workshop run a fantastic facility in Cotton Court. They have a network of businesses or people who come and make use of their services, but they want to try and show businesses like yourselves that they can offer more than that. We have agreed to provide professional services for free to build a brand, to build a platform, to build communications, to try to get that message out to educational establishments and businesses, to say it's not just about picking up an artist and having 20 of those prints to try and decorate an office, but actually you can commission work in a particular way, you can get your staff involved in particular ways. There's great benefits to be had. So our job in this is to create a brand for them and launch that brand. That in itself is a fantastic project that if I can bring into the studio, creates a balance, creates an energy, creates an excitement, and we can do good work because we're dealing with it on a different footing than we are with a normal client. We can expect the Belfast Print Workshop to go a little bit further, not accept "that'll do rightly." On our side, what we've done is not just say "that's fine, we'll just do a brand, that'll be great," but we have actually asked then for, well, in fact it's turned out to be 9 members of staff are now getting a 1-day workshop in printmaking. That's already taken place over the last few weeks. So we have to, as a business, be happy to let our staff, and that can be difficult, in groups of 4 go out and spend a day out of the office, but they've been learning to get back into making things, touching ink, feeling what that means when you press it into paper, as opposed to being removed from that through commercial printing processes. So it's been a fabulous experience for them. It also, of course, allows them to understand the client, understand the environment, and really get a sense of living it out. The equivalent of method acting, if you like, in our industry. So they've enjoyed that. But again, we just keep layering this thing. Our idea now, and what we've set up, is that I'm giving each one of our 9 designers 2 clients each. And 2 of those clients will be reinterpreted from a completely different point of view than they normally would. So clients of ours like QFT, National Trust, Tourist Board, whatever the clients happen to be, we're going to allow each designer to take them in mind to create a piece of work that will get made by the Belfast Print Workshop, and then we're going to put on an exhibition. So that's going to be 18 different clients who are going to walk into a room like this and see a different way that I'm not asking our designers to be artists. I think that's not the intention. We're going to have them working alongside artists, and we're going to see what happens. Michael O'Neill, director of the Belfast Print Workshop, and I don't really know what's going to happen out of that, but that's the joy in it all. But I know what will happen whenever clients come to that, and maybe we should invite you all as well. We're going to obviously the commercial outputs of that will be hopefully some work can sell for charities that we're setting aside. But for me, the big thing would be that clients like the National Trust can see how, by utilising creative industries in a broader way, can mean that there could be pieces of art that get created that are bought at the Causeway Visitor Centre, where the National Museums can see that there can be new ways of creating contemporary gifts and contemporary work that has authenticity, but yet is doing something different. And to try and get our clients to realise that investment in the arts can be can be shared, passed on. There's new ways of thinking about this. You don't have to always accept the way things are just at the moment. So that's the intention. The intention is to make sure the thing is layered in a way which gets many outputs from it, to challenge a broader base of people from a project that starts out with 9 people getting a one-day workshop. That's me. Thank you very much.
Final contributor before we get some discussion is Caroline Wilson. Caroline is from McKinsey & Wright, the solicitors, and was part of the Young Professionals programme to put her into a board setting. So she's going to tell us about some of that and some of the interesting work with the Cathedral Quarter Arts Festival. And I see your boss Sean over there celebrating his wonderful culture night last month. Caroline, come and tell us all about it.
Thank you. Thanks. Unlike the others, I've brought a few notes with me. I get to thank Tanya for that, who asked me to fill in for, I think it was David Hill, a few days ago. I was a bit worried that I knew the title of this talk was Beyond the Cheque, but David's also a tax or a VAT consultant. I thought I was maybe a bit out of my depth, but luckily the topic was me, and to those of you that do know me in this room, that's one of my favourite topics. And also the only challenge really is that I have to keep it below 5 minutes. I was given the opportunity by McKinsey & Wright to get involved with the young professionals on arts boards, and I know I was shocked too. They let me into young professionals, but there was no equivalent for middle-aged professionals, so I jumped in with the young ones. I've been with McKinsey & Wright now for 11 years, and it was about time that I got involved in something a bit different, and also to be able to look at my skills in an environment that I could possibly see what I could offer to an arts organisation, and also what skills really needed brushed up. I was provided through Arts and Business in-depth governance training, and which to this day I still find useful, but they completed that and we were set into each of our boards by Arts and Business, and I luckily was put in with the Cathedral Quarter Arts Festival. The festival was founded, I don't know, I'm sure all of you will know well about it, but it was founded in 1999 and quickly became established as one of Ireland's most vibrant and dynamic arts festivals, and with creative programming thanks to Sean Kelly and creative marketing and an extremely affordable pricing policy, the festival still enjoys loyal and extensive and diverse following throughout the country. It also organises the Out to Lunch programme, and I will say award-winning Out to Lunch programme, which I must recommend to anybody who's in Belfast on a very damp and dreary January, if they're looking for something a bit different in the city at, again, very affordable price, unless of course they're coming to James Street South. I couldn't have been placed with a better organisation or board. They've thoroughly embraced the suited outsider without an arts background. I joined at a time when the festival was taking stock, and we were looking forward strategically to the next 3 to 5 years, particularly when the competition for funding was becoming ever more challenging. It was a challenge that I was eager to take on, and in those 2 years we've undergone a strategic review, implemented a number of key governance improvements, and established a fundraising subcommittee, which I think if anyone's more involved with arts here, it's quite a feat over those 2 years. Both the governance and training and the hands-on experience that I've now had, I wouldn't have been able to get that in my day-to-day work in McKinsey & Wright, and the experience has definitely changed how I go about my work, and hopefully it's reflected positively upon it. Coupled with that, I've been able to meet various people in different sectors that I wouldn't have a chance again in my work, be it sponsors, board members or volunteers. For me personally, the crucial aspect of giving your time to an arts organisation is enjoyment. Times are hard, but with such a positive board and an organisation such as the Cathedral Quarter Arts Festival that goes from strength to strength, it really is a most enjoyable challenge. Overall, I've been able to experience the hard work and great enjoyment that comes from being a board member of an arts organisation that benefits the whole of the country at every stage and age and whatever your taste. Thank you, that's me. Short and sweet.